Picture this. You're juggling a CQC inspection, 2 staff vacancies, a board meeting next week, and someone's just told you the boiler's broken. Your brain is screaming. You can't think straight. Now picture this. You open a conversation, you dump all that chaos in, and something asks you the right questions until suddenly you know exactly what to do first. That's what I'm going to teach you to build today. 40 minutes, no coding. Let's go. So I'm going to just get started right away. Just to introduce myself, my name is David Mance, and you're welcome to How to Build an AI Co-CEO. I run Frank Care Marketing. I'm a CPD certified AI trainer. And the reason I sort of took the trouble to get that qualification is because I'm really passionate about helping people navigate AI. I can see, like we all can, it's going to have a huge impact on us. And particularly the care sector is what I'm focused on, but whatever sector you're in, it's going to have a huge impact. And so it's really important that we have the best tools and the best training. All right, let me just share my screen. Stuff. Okay, jumped ahead a little bit there. So you can find resources here at aiandsocialcare.com. So other tutorials like this one, and also interviews I do in my podcast, interviewing awesome people who are doing great stuff with AI in the care sector. Before we dive in, I wanted just to share why we're doing this webinar today. So I decided at the start of the year, I want to do more webinars. And I was thinking, well, how am I going to start off? And then I saw a guy I follow called Paul Raitzer do a webinar on this. So I thought, oh yeah, of course, because this was actually the start of my AI journey. It was the first time I'd already been using AI quite a bit for just fairly low level stuff, like helping, like I'm sure you are, writing better emails or whatever. But this was the first time I thought, wow, this can really make an enormous difference in my working life. And so that's why I really wanted to share this. So at the time, I was completely overwhelmed. That's me on the left there. I had a list of things I could do in any given moment. In my business, I could be working on like business development, or I could help my clients solve a staffing challenge or develop some training materials. And I would kind of start one thing, get halfway through it and think, oh no, maybe I should be doing this thing instead. And my mind was bouncing all over the place. And what I did was I basically sort of splurged all my thoughts, all the possible things I could do into an AI. And I didn't just ask it to give me an answer. I said, ask me questions. Let's go back and forth and figure out what my priorities should be. We had a conversation. It helped me organize not just my tasks, but my thinking. I didn't obviously just bow to what it told me to do, but I used it to give me clarity. And that single moment was really transformative. I've been using this approach ever since, and I genuinely believe that this could be just as transformative for you too. So I've called my assistant Captain Frank. That's him on the right there. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own version. Whether you're leading a large care home group, or you're managing operations across multiple sites, or you're just one person, it will apply to you. You don't need to be, I've called it co-CEO. You don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to work in care. It will work for you if you are someone who is busy juggling lots of priorities and you need help with just, getting clarity in your work. It will help you. So here's what we're going to cover. No, sorry, I've jumped to. So we're going to cover what is an AI co-CEO, how to build your own, the 6 core functions that I've sort of chosen for mine that will kind of you can use as your starting point. We'll briefly touch on the different platform options that you can choose. And then, I'll actually show you how to build your own. I'll give you some real use cases so you can really see, oh, okay, that I can see how that would apply for me. We'll look at privacy and compliance, because that's important, whatever sector you're in, but especially care. And then I'll talk right at the end about how I can help you and answer any questions. All right, great stuff. So let me start by asking you, how many of these resonate with you? You have ideas constantly, ways to improve your organization or your role. You write them down, you put them in a to-do list, and they vanish. They get buried under operational fires. Or maybe you delegate them to a team member, but then you kind of lose track of following up on that. Perhaps you spend too much time on repetitive tasks that drain your time and your energy without really moving things forward. You often feel overwhelmed. You know you should be focusing on big things like strategic growth, but you're dealing with staffing crises or some regulatory requirements or operational challenges, and thinking, oh, what should you focus on first? You want to focus on what matters most, the things that will genuinely kind of move the needle. You want more time for the parts of leadership that matter, the human parts, like building your team and supporting your staff and spending time with those that you help, actually leading rather than just firefighting. And underneath all of this, there's a bigger concern, because you want to set your organization up, and also yourself personally in terms of your career. You want to set yourself up for long-term sustainable success. So it's not just about surviving, this quarter. I should say, actually, I haven't said, but yeah, obviously there is a Q&A bit. So as we go along, feel free to drop your questions in there. I'm just going to move this window slightly because I can't actually see when someone does add a question. Okay, great, that's better. So yeah, I'm sure all those bits sound familiar. Feel free to drop something in the chat or the Q&A if something particularly resonates with you there. But so let's talk about what an AI co-CEO actually is. It's not a replacement for you, and it's not as complicated to build as you might think. It's a custom AI assistant that you build specifically for your organization and your role. It's trained on your context, and context is such an important word in AI. It's something that you'll hear me talk about every time I'm talking about AI, and you'll understand a bit more of that in a moment. But it's trained on, when I say context, I mean like your business model, your priorities, your challenges, your values. It sits in whichever AI tool you prefer, and we'll get into those in a moment. And it becomes a thinking partner that you can access instantly. So when you're facing a decision, you can talk to it. When you need to organize a jumble of thoughts, you can just, like I did, splurge them all out and it helps you sort through them. When you need to work through a problem, you can brainstorm with it. You can use it to innovate, to come up with new ideas. It's curious and it's going to ask you good questions. It's going to challenge your thinking. So it won't, like at that story I mentioned at the start, it won't just go along with what you say, but it'll push back and challenge ideas and innovations. And here's the big thing, like it's available instantly, so that you don't have to wait for a member of your team to be available to talk stuff through. Now, you might be kind of wondering, won't this mean giving the AI access to sensitive information? And the answer is absolutely not. And so we'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about privacy and compliance in detail later, but you control what goes in. And to be honest, for this kind of use case, you don't really need to be putting in anything sensitive. So we'll just quickly touch on the different platforms you can use. They're all, in terms of how you build this, they're all actually very similar. Claude is slightly different, but certainly the first three, that they look almost identical. What happened was ChatGPT kind of created this way of working with their custom GPTs, and the others just basically copied it because it works really well. So I'm going to demonstrate it using a Microsoft Copilot agent. So just because that's the most common for the people I tend to work with. If you're in a Microsoft environment, Office 365 and Teams, that ecosystem, it's a natural fit for you. So whereas if ChatGPT is the one you use, that's the one I originally used for Frank sort of 1.0. And that's also great. For that, you'll need a ChatGPT Plus subscription, which is about 15 or 20 quid a month, I think. It's very straightforward. I think it's got probably the best interface out of all of them. Or you can use Google Gem, which if you already are using Google Workspace, that integrates really nicely with your existing tools. And then Claude, like I say, Claude is slightly different in the way that it's set up, but it also does the job brilliantly. Yeah, so basically it doesn't matter which one you choose, they're all great. So actually what we're going to do is I'm going to actually jump now into the prompt. This is really the most important. This kind of is what sits at the center of it, really. So with this, you're going to write instructions that tell your AI co-CEO. Just tell me if I just want to check you're able to see this. Yeah, you are able to see the screen, aren't you? Sorry, I was just got slightly freaked out then. Yeah, so I've got a couple of examples here that I'll send to you after the session. So on the left here is a kind of generic prompt. So as you can see, it kind of starts off with you are a whatever name, whatever role, whatever organization. So that's the kind of template that you can use, I guess, particularly if you're not already working in care, whereas the one on the right is a very much care-based. So it's like you are the strategic partner CEO of Sunnyside Care Group, and that one has much more, I've sort of filled in the gaps on that one. So I'll send both, and you can kind of, as you work through, use a bit of both. That'll work fine. For now, just so it doesn't get sort of too confusing looking at two things at once, I will just focus on this one. Let's make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see. So you are the strategic partner of CEO Alex, so insert your own sort of name there, the CEO of Sunnyside Care Group. You're tasked with helping manage, grow, and transform the organization towards excellence in care and sustainable business performance. So it's starting off with just a little bit about, what is your role? Then it goes into a bit about you specifically, like your own career, your sort of CV, as it were. Then it goes into a little bit about the organization. Now, you might kind of think, well, it's not very much considering, it's supposed to be giving lots of context. So for this bit, this is the prompt that you're going to drop in to sort of build the essentials of your tool. But you'll be able to give it lots more context, like pages and pages more context in something called the knowledge base. So for this bit, we're limited to, I think it's 8,000 characters or something like that in Copilot. And then your role. So this is your job description. You're doing things like identify strategic priorities and manage competing demands, addressing operational and strategic challenges, exploring growth opportunities, improve decision-making, integrate AI, perhaps it would be systems and AI. But it's just giving instructions to this assistant. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to help. You challenge thinking and ideas as a means to enhance creativity, innovation, and performance. You're curious. You ask questions at any time to understand context. You help leaders see things differently. Then I've given a little bit about the tone. I've said always be optimistic and encouraging, but keep things grounded in reality. And just a couple of things that bother me, like British English, no corporate speak, not too many exclamation marks. Then we're kind of setting the scene for, this is the way that I am going to come to you and ask for your help. So I might be coming with a fully formed problem or a tangle of concerns. I might ask for analysis. I might ask you to help draft something. Now, obviously, you can use AI to draft something at any point, but in this case, when you're coming to your CEO assistant, it's going to have lots and lots of context to draw from. They might be overwhelmed or confused and want to get clarity by asking kind of diagnostic questions. They might want to brainstorm possibilities, and in that case, I want you as my tool to engage creatively and ask challenging questions. They might ask for your perspective, and then a little bit about what you shouldn't do. Don't be unethical. Don't make final decisions. Don't assume. Don't be a cheerleader for bad ideas. As I said at the start, AI can be a problem with AI. Knowledge base. We're going to come on to that in a minute. Here I've kind of listed out 3 documents that I'm going to give to this sort of dummy Go. You will have probably, I would hope, a lot more. I would say you probably want 8 or 10 documents, something like that. We'll talk about that in a minute for the context. And then suggested prompts. Again, I'll get into this in just a moment, but this is the 6 kind of key ways that I've set mine up to the 6 kind of different functions that I've given it to kind of help me. And so when I as the user choose a certain one, I'm wanting my assistant to help in a very specific way. So, you know, I might be wanting you to help me unload and clarify my thoughts. If so, you know, help them kind of say it all out there without judgment or premature solutions. Translate what might be a splurge of notes, or as I'll share in a minute, like you could just splurge out like a voice you know, you could just say it all into the AI and get back clarity, or it'll help you get back clarity. So these are the different ways in which it can work, and we'll come onto those a bit more in just a minute. So now let me show you what this actually looks like in Copilot. So in order to start building, so you just go to your Microsoft 365, or you might go to ChatGPT, which I'm just going to jump left ahead there, but you might go to ChatGPT, whichever one it is, and you'll see in ChatGPT it'll be build a custom GPT. You can see here my GPTs create, but in Copilot they call them agents. In Google they call them gems. So different terminology, basically the same thing. So, and like I say, the interface is almost identical. So I'm going to click on new agent, and like I said, if I was in ChatGPT, I would go create new GPT there, and you can see this interface. Look how similar they are. They're like almost identical, really. So the first thing you want to do, it gives you 2 sort of tab options. You can describe what you want. So if you kind of were not very sure about what you wanted to build, you could just kind of give it a rough idea, and you'd have a conversation back and forth about what you want to build. But in this case, we're really clear about exactly what we're going to build. So I always go configure, to be honest. I'm going to call this co-CEO. I'll call this Jonathan, after Jonathan, who's in one of the people here today. Then I just give a quick description. So in this case, I'll just paste in what I have on my one. So a strategic thinking partner for care leaders, helps with prioritization, problem solving, planning, and decision making. Instructions. Now this is where we're going to insert our prompts that we just spent so long working on and creating, and you're going to create your own version of this. This is probably what will take the most time, but you've got my example and you've got my generic template, so that'll hopefully make it a lot quicker. All right, so I've dropped that in. You can see actually here it shares like, yeah, just under 7,000 characters out of 8,000. So that gives you an idea of how long you can make it. If you find, you know, if you finish writing it, you probably will want to write it in Word first. And if you finish writing it and it's too long, just take out a section and make that a separate document that you then are going to add to your knowledge base. Okay. So let's talk a bit. So like I said, this is the section where you're going to put in your knowledge base. And like I said, here it's kind of almost identical here, knowledge, upload files. So let's talk a little bit about what that actually is. Just go back to present here. So like I said, this is all the context that you're going to give your assistant. If you imagine like you employed a new assistant and they started their first day on the job, you wouldn't say, okay, help me organize my thinking, and you wouldn't start like splurging out everything. You'd want it to know you want it to have a proper like onboarding into your organization, don't you? You want it to know like the context of, right, who is this organization? What are their values? What are we trying to go for? Like, what's our strategy for the next year or next 3 years? So you want it to have all of that context first. You want to brief it well. And so I would just say, like, with your knowledge base, this is the kind of stuff that you could put into it. So I would want to put in there organizational strategy documents. Bear in mind, like, it doesn't have to be, it could be as rough, you know, if you're a small organization, you might think, well, I haven't got one. Okay, well, just create a one pager where you just lay it out. Okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. But you'd have a strategy document, you'd have like process documentation. So how you handle staff training or rostering, all those kind of things, your business plans and key metrics and KPIs, like where are you trying to get to? You might have anonymized case studies of how you've solved problems, just to give it an example of the type of impact that you have. You would want probably to have, if you're a care organization, give it like the CQC standards or whatever is, you know, say you're in charity, give it like, you know, fundraising, I can't think what it's called now, but you know what I mean. Basically, like what is ethical fundraising? Like, give it access to all those kind of things. Give it, perhaps you might have financial templates. The kind of stuff that you shouldn't include, I guess it would be fairly obvious really, but don't put in anything that's personally identifiable information. Don't put in service user records, staff personal records, financial information that might identify individuals, anything like, basically don't put in anything that you wouldn't want to be appearing to others. Just a couple more tips on this knowledge base. Don't have any document that's more than about 15 or 20 pages, because the assistant would struggle then to basically accurately retrieve the bit of information that is most relevant. So if you do have something that's really long, say you've got like a staff handbook that's like 100 pages long, just chunk it up. So just give it, okay, this is the HR section, this is health and safety. So just split it into separate documents, and that way I'll be able to read them. So let me go back now to what we're building here. And so for our purposes, I would say, unless you're like pretty advanced in this stuff, I would say you're just going to drop in your documents. So I've got 3 documents here. I've created these sort of dummy documents for this tool. So I've got a job description, I've got our strategic focus areas, and I've got our values as an organization. So you can drop in, you know, whatever context you want to give it. Bear in mind that as things change, like, you'll need to update it. Obviously, over time, you know, your 2026 strategy will no longer be relevant, and so you'll want to delete it, which is as easy as just hitting the X here, and then upload a new one. Like I say, you could do this all in a more sophisticated way by pointing it at a certain site within SharePoint, or if you're doing it Google, you know, a certain folder within your Google Drive. And in that way, it's able to pull on, you know, that folder from your SharePoint, from your kind of wherever your, you know, where your sort of servers are. So but for our purposes today, let's just keep it simple, and let's just we're just going to drop in the documents, and that works perfectly fine. Okay, next part of here, and again, you'll see it's the same in ChatGPT. You have in ChatGPT, it's called conversation starters. In Copilot, it's called suggested prompts, and in Google Gems, they don't actually have it, and so I can sort of show you a workaround for that if you just drop me a line. But this is where we've got these kind of 6 core suggested prompts or types of work that you want it to do, and we're going to kind of drop those in, and it just acts as, yeah, like I said, as a sort of a thought starter. So there we go. So organize my thinking, help me unload my thoughts. Copilot has this funny way where it has both a sort of title and a message. It's sort of set up in two parts like this, which I find a bit fiddly. In ChatGPT, it's just one thing. What you'll find is, I'm going to switch to one I made earlier, basically, here at this point, just so you can see how it looks at the end. So here's my co-CEO, Alex. I've got a little image of them. And yeah, you can see those 6 types of work I might ask it to do. And you'll see, like, when you click on it, all it does is just give that little prompt, so it knows within the sort of system prompt, okay, I'm going to do this type of work this time. If you don't use it, it's fine. Okay, so what I'll do is just to start, just to show you, I'm just going to ask it, what are our values? Because I'm just doing this because you saw that the values document was one of the things that we dropped into the knowledge base. So I'm just checking that it's actually drawing on that. It's actually pulling on the right information. Oh, I can see it is. Here we go. These are the 6 kind of values and our 3 pillars of our imaginary care organization. And it even is giving you the citation here. Oops, I don't really need that. But it's kind of telling you where it's pulling the file from. So you can sort of see, okay, yes, it's pulling from the right place. Good stuff. Okay. So I'll check there's no questions. Okay, good. But do feel free to ask any as we go. So yeah, let me show you how this works in practice with a real example that probably a lot of you will be able to relate to. So imagine that you've had a really intense day. I'm just going to start a new chat here, so we're kind of starting clean. And let's say you're kind of on your way home from work and you just want to unload all your thoughts. And so what you do is you grab your phone, you hit record on your note-taking app, or you might just have a recorder on your phone, and you just splurge, again, like everything that's in your head into your phone. So if you don't have like a note-taker app like Fathom or Fireflies or Otter, or you'll have this one within Teams. If you don't have something like that, I would recommend you get that. Like, it's well worth having, and it just will give you a nice transcription of everything that you sort of say. But this is something that I do, like every lunchtime, well, not every lunchtime, but as much as I can, I'll take the dog for a walk at lunchtime and I'll just talk about everything that's in my head. And it's very sort of therapeutic because it gets it all out. But it also, often I'll be like, oh, I need to do that thing, I need to do this thing. And so I'll then go back and I'll drop it into my AI assistant, and it will help me kind of keep track of those things. It will help me prioritize them. So here's one I made earlier. I asked AI to just kind of give me an imaginary download from someone. So I've given it this sort of instruction. So analyze this brain dump, identify the fires I need to put out, the strategic opportunities, and create a delegation list for my deputy manager. And then, yeah, I've got all of my, so what I'll do is I'll paste it in, and then because it might take a little minute to get through that. And then while it's doing that, I'll just read it out. So here's our person. She's saying, oh, I'm just leaving the Oaks, my head's spinning. Right, first thing, staffing is still a mess for the weekend. Sarah called in with a chest infection. The agency's quoting me double. Okay, so that's one issue. And then I had a long chat with a resident's daughter. They're unhappy about the laundry. And then, oh, I've got this thing about CQC, which is the regulatory body. Oh, I've got to get this evidence folder. So that's okay, that's a longer term thing. I'm also worried about the team's morale. Everyone looks exhausted. I was thinking of doing a staff appreciation lunch, but is that just a sticking plaster? So, oh, and I've just remembered this urgent task. I promised the local authority I'd send over this safeguarding policy. And then a more long-term business thing. I want to grow the domiciliary side of the business this year, but I feel like I'm firefighting. I feel like I'm losing sight of the strategy 2027 plan. Okay, so that's everything that's in our head. And then co-CEO Alex has done as we've asked, and says, oh, here is it. Let me just make this a bit bigger for you because you can't read that. Here's a clear, calm synthesis of your drive home brain dump, grounded in Sunnyside's strategic priorities and values. So again, we're coming back to that context. And so it's, as we've asked, it's broken it into the kind of immediate urgent stuff, the strategic stuff, and then the stuff that we can delegate. And so you can see, yeah, first of all, okay, here's the urgent bits, unsafe staffing levels. And it's kind of saying, oh, you know, okay, that's why it's a fire. You've got, so it's kind of just summarizing this stuff for us. And it's then divided, okay, then it's also drawn out, okay, these are the strategic things. Okay, you wanna like grow that part of the business. Okay, you're thinking about re-energizing the team, reducing burnout. Okay. It's sorting the laundry system into strategic, well, I guess it is, it's sort of longer term perhaps. And then, okay, it's kind of giving you a delegation list for your deputy manager. Okay, this is the stuff that you're going to give to the manager. And it's kind of pulling out now, okay, these are the action points based on what you're saying. So, okay, we need to cost compare the wellness app options in response to the staff morale. For the domiciliary growth, which we know is a kind of a bigger kind of issue. Okay, we're going to pull together the notes for the strategy. We're going to summarize capacity. So you're asking your deputy manager to help with these things. And then it's ending with a kind of, here are some other ways that I can help you. So it's done all right there. To be honest, it's not, I perhaps didn't give it the best kind of prompt, but you can see the general thought anyway, this kind of use case of, I'm going to just download all my thoughts and then you're going to help me sort of pick it through. And obviously you are going to, I guess what's powerful is that you're moving from overwhelmed and scattered to having clarity. So you know, okay, this is what's urgent. This is what's important. This is what I'm delegating and what can wait. So, and you're still doing the thinking. So you're going to do, you might have a bit of back and forth and say, okay, let's talk a bit more about this, because at the moment it's just divided up a bit, but okay, I want to talk about this strategy for domiciliary care. How am I going to push that forward? And you'd have a back and forward with it. It's not doing the thinking for you, but it is kind of helping you think more clearly about what you should do. Let's just give it another, I'm just going to give it another example here. Again, I'm just going to start, so I'm going to start a new chat. CEO here. I'm going to say, so I'm trying to figure out if we should invest in a new training program for our staff, what should we be thinking about? So that is obviously a very, that's just a one question, that's a one line sort of prompt. It's not asking, it's not giving it much context, but because it's got all the other context, it's going to help you. So co-CEO Alex responds, here's how I'd help you think this through as your co-CEO. Before we jump to solutions, a training program is an investment decision like any other. It needs to be tied tightly to the organization's strategy, operational realities across our homes, and the outcomes we're trying to shift. Okay, and it's sort of talking about some other stuff that's looked through. So it's kind of then asking some helpful questions. So what problem are we trying to solve? Who's this training actually for? How will we measure success? So again, like it's really asking like the right questions. And I might kind of tell it a bit more. I might say, well, we've got high staff turnover at the moment, or we don't have enough people because we're getting in lots of new clients. So, so you're going to have, you're not going to just settle for this one answer, but you're going to go deeper with it. But it's being that thought partner for you, and it's helping you think through, okay, this is my hypothesis. I think maybe we should have more training. Okay, is it really lack of training that's causing turnover, or is it something else? And what would we need to test this, and how would we measure success? So this is the power of it. You get a thinking partner that is available 24/7. I'm sure you could have an equally good conversation with one of your peers, one of your staff, or your boss, or your assistant. But this way, if you think of it at, at lunchtime and no one's around, or you think of it at night time, you're able to immediately test it and stress test it a bit. And what will happen is you'll find that by the time you do actually come to bring an idea forward, it's much more thought through. You're much clearer on what you need. You might find, for example, it's not just with your staff as well. You might be going to, a potential provider, or I don't know, even a legal person or whatever. But by the time you get to them, you've already thought through things because you've used AI to kind of clarify your thinking as you go. Okay. So just a quick note I want to say about storing the chats. This is a bit of a funny one. So in ChatGPT, you have something called projects, which are kind of like folders that you can organize. You might organize by, like I organize mine by clients sometimes, for example, or certain topics. So it works that way. Again, with Copilot, like you've obviously got this whole like SharePoint system behind it, but I don't want to get into that, the ways that you could organize it. But you will find that you're having these conversations with your assistant and it can be hard to sort of find them. So just as a kind of helpful first fix, I just, your chat. So these are the chats that we've been having with our co-CEO. I would just rename them at the start with like, I think it's not too many characters, but I just, just put co-CEO at the start, whatever you choose to call it. And it just means that when you're looking down your sort of chats, all of your different chats, you can quickly see, okay, and just be careful with your naming. It's pretty good at giving you good names for stuff, but sometimes, there's just ways to name stuff where your brain instantly goes, oh yeah, that's what it is. And that will just help with being able to find your way, because it is annoying when you kind of lose track. Just a couple of other points though for the future, like if you're using Copilot, you would be able to access this from within Teams, for example, or you might, create like a SharePoint list or something like that. But again, that's sort of for another day. Okay, we're sort of winding towards the end now. I've kind of shown you how to build this thing. I just wanted to say a little point on privacy and compliance, because that's the question I kind of get asked the most often, and understandably so. Like, it's really important. If you're dealing with sensitive data, you're going to have legitimate concerns about privacy and compliance. So stuff that you shouldn't share, as I kind of already touched on, really. So no personally identifiable information, no staff personal information, no financial data that identifies individuals. So you might put in, oh, my business goal is I want to get £1 million or whatever, but that's fine. It's only going to be sort of giving back what you put in. But yeah, just be aware that on the GDPR, even if that AI platform says it's secure, there's a risk that this data could appear in the outputs, or it could be used to train a model on. So it's just not worth the risk, basically. But yeah, you can safely share, like I said before, key metrics and KPIs, or all those other kind of bits that we touched on just previously here. Okay. I'd just say, like, the kind of litmus test really is, yeah, if this appeared in a conversation, would I be comfortable? Like, if it appeared in a conversation that someone else could see. If you're in a Microsoft enterprise environment, you've got better data protections and controls generally. But my recommendations are, once you've built this tool, you'll see at the end, actually I'll show you once you've, let me just quickly show you here. So once you, oh no, have I still got it, the one I was building? No, I haven't. So, but when you finish building it, you hit create, or you hit, I think it's create also in Copilot, and it will say, like, do you want to share this? And generally I would say just keep it to yourself. That's your own tool. It's got all of your data. You could create a team one, but you probably won't want to. Okay, great. again, just finishing up, I guess I would just invite you to share any questions that you've got about this now, and I'll kind of keep an eye on that. But while you're doing that, let me just say, like, these are some ways that I can help. So the first way is, you might be thinking, oh, this all sounds great, but I'm not sure I can do this myself. Can you just build it for me? And the honest answer is, well, probably not, just because I can help you, but I wouldn't do it entirely for you. And the reason for that is, if I build it for you, and it's never going to be perfect first time, whoever builds it. And so you need to iterate on it. Like you'll get outputs back, and you'll be like, oh, it's not quite understood that part of my work, or oh, it's using American English. And so you want to go into it and just tweak things as you go. And obviously, if I build it for you, you won't know how to do that. So definitely build it for yourself. If you sit down and think through your prompt, you understand how it works. But also, by doing that, like, you're becoming more AI literate in a way that you can't outsource it. And that really matters for you. It matters for your own career. It matters for your position as a leader, because it's really important that you as a leader, bringing AI into your department or your organization, AI is not going to go away. It's going to become increasingly central. And so you need to understand that you need to be able to make decisions about it. So you can't do that unless you really engage with it yourself and become literate. So the first step to that is, I can really help with your general AI literacy. The first step to getting more from AI in your organization is by training your staff, and that has to begin with the leaders. So the really important thing is tailoring it to your people and to your organization, your workflows, and that's where you'll see the value, and it will really stick. And so that's something I really work hard to do in all my training, is to make it so applicable to you in your daily work. Those who want to lead on AI responsibly, they'll, by doing that, you'll reduce risk and you'll stay kind of firmly on the right side of compliance. And then second way is around safe AI governance and policy. So I can help you establish a clear AI policy, create guidelines that give staff clarity about what they can and can't do. That's just such a key thing. It's like, folks appreciate having guardrails in their work and knowing, okay, this is how I can and can't use AI. So it's really important that you give them that, and so they have clear boundaries, and that actually can be quite freeing for them. Okay, great stuff. Can't see any questions, so that's fine. I'm just going to finish up in that case. I would just say, yeah, get building. So if you want any support building your co-CEO, I'm here. I can help. What I'll do is, straight after this, once we get the recording back later today, I'll send you the prompts, and I'll send you the kind of my dummy example knowledge base to get you started. And then you'll have this recording to go through. Pick one of the platforms, spend probably about an hour writing your prompt so it's really strong, using that template. Start a conversation, see what happens. And like I say, you will need to tweak it as you go. That's just all part of the fun, really. So yeah, the care sector is at a really key moment. All sectors are, I would say. AI is going to play an increasingly important role in how organizations operate. And the leaders who understand it, who can think intelligently about it, who can make strategic decisions about where it adds value, those are the leaders who are going to be the ones who thrive. If you'd like, do feel free to book a free consultation with me on how you can use AI to do more. I'm here to guide and support. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'm really excited to hear back from you what you build and to hear how you get on. Just to also point out, you can get more tutorials like this and podcasts at aiinsocialcare.com. Let me just finish by summarizing what we covered. You're experiencing probably pain points right now, too many priorities, lack of clarity on what matters most. An AI co-CEO can help you with that. You can build one for yourself in any of the kind of major platforms. It's not complicated. You start with that prompt that tells your co-CEO who it is. You upload some documents into a knowledge base. You start using it. You refine it over time. You never share personal sensitive data. And here's probably the most important part I want you to take away. This is about you becoming AI literate as a leader. All right. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best. Oh, I've got 2 questions. Sorry. Let me just look at these. So, when trying to get different perspectives from people, you often might ask a few different people, might give different insight. Someone might give a perspective from the caring point of view of business. Can you always, at least one person doesn't agree with you? Yeah, I would just say, yeah, it's in terms of like the type of advice that you're going to get back from it, it will completely depend on those kind of core examples that I gave. And so let me just show here. This part of the prompt where you're telling it either, help me on, this really decides how it behaves when you're giving it these instructions. So just think about what you would find most helpful from your perspective in terms of the type of thinker. Like you're saying, there's lots of different types of people who come back with, they might come back with more caring approach, or a more like, it might be like hard financial focus. They might have a more strategic visionary focus, and you can really train it to think in whichever way you need in that moment. And you can even say to it in the specific prompt, I need you to like behave in this way to help me think this through. But that's kind of why you've got these, let me show here, that's why you've got these kind of suggested prompts here, to be that kind of slightly different persona, or bring that slightly different kind of way of thinking to the work. Okay, I hope that's helpful. I hope that kind of